Today is April 19th, 2021. It's day number 109. Reading is 1 Kings 18 through 20. Let me get my glasses. Okay, let's see. Let me get closer to the camera so you can hear me. I don't know how much of this you can hear when I'm too far away from the camera. Anyways, chapter 18 is the story about Elisha going to the Baal worshippers and proving that God's the real God, that their Baal is phony, which I don't understand this because like all these other gods are supposedly false gods, but then you hear in these other verses where these same gods, like Baal, have actually performed miracles. So what's the difference? I don't understand. Like, are these real gods? Are these fake gods? Because in this verse, in these verses, Baal doesn't do anything. The story is, and it's a story, it's not real. Elisha said, we're going to put the gods to the test. What you do is you put a sacrifice, make an altar, put a sacrifice on there, call out to your gods to have the god light the altar to burn the sacrifice. Don't light it yourself, call out to your god, have your god burn the sacrifice. Well, they did that. Elijah taunts them, saying, oh, your God's not coming to, light the fire. Call out louder. He can't hear. Maybe he's sleeping. Blah, blah. He's taunting him, right? Nothing happens. Well, then Elijah does the same thing, but builds an altar, slaughters a bull or ram or whatever, cuts it up, puts it on the altar. But what he does over and above that is he fills the altar with water. He puts lots and lots of water. Well, not him. He has his slaves do it because, he's lazy. Put lots and lots of water on the altar and then calls to God. And God, burns up the altar and everything. I think it even says it went so far as God making the altar into dust. The rocks turned into dust. That's how hot the heat was. The water all burnt up, the sacrifice all burnt up, everything all burnt up. It wasn't just a regular fire, it was a super fire. It was like a supernova fire. And that was to prove that God was a real God and Baal was fake. I guess in this story, but in other stories, Baal has done stuff. So I don't understand. The Bible is just not consistent in this stuff. Anyways, if you're going to make a story, make it good, or don't make up a story. Anyway, so chapter 19, let's see what I got. I actually wrote stuff down this time. Verse 1 through 3, Elijah was afraid of being killed because, I forgot to say this. Okay, in chapter 18, verse 40, after all this stuff with the altar, both altars, when the Baal worshippers, the prophets of the Baal worshipper, I don't even know what they mean by the word prophets here. They're using it willy-nilly throughout the Bible. The prophets run away. I guess they get scared. Oh, there's really a God, there's God, and this is the true God, and I'm scared of this true God. So the prophets run away for whatever reason. And Elisha because he's too lazy to do it himself and too wimpy, he has other people go catch them. He brings them back. Where does it say? He brings them back by the river, I think he says. Elijah says, seize the prophets of Baal, let none of them escape. They were seized. Elijah had brought them down to the brook where he slit their throats. That's absolutely disgusting, right? So then in the next chapter, Ahab told Jezebel what Elijah had done, that he had put the prophets to the sword. Jezebel then sent a messenger to Elijah, may the gods do thus and so to me if by this time tomorrow I have not done with your life what was done to each of them. Elijah was afraid and fled for his life. And he left his slave there, real great, because so his slave will get killed instead of Elijah. Real honorable person there. But anyways, I'm sitting here thinking, wait a minute, isn't your God protecting you on this? I mean, did God tell you to kill these people in such a horrific way? I mean, that's disgusting. Slitting their throats. And people are still reading this. People are still standing by this book where it's talking about people who didn't believe in God, in the God they were supposed to believe in, are murdered in such a awful way. Disgusting. I mean, ugh. Anyways, whoever condones this stuff is just messed up. Anyways, Elisha went up to a mountain or some cave or something, and then, oh, no, before that, Elisha says, God just killed me, and God said, basically tells him to go to sleep. He goes to sleep, he wakes up, and then there's, chapter 19, verse 6, it says, there's a earthquake and a jug of water. After he ate and drank, he lay down again, but the Lord his God came back a second time, touched him, and ordered, get up and eat, else the journey will be too long for you. He got up, ate and drank, and then strengthened by that food, he walked 40 days and 40 nights to the mountain of God, Horeb. 40 days and 40 nights, kind of like Moses, right? And then it talks about there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. I don't know what that means. There was a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. What does that mean? And 3 times the charm. It's always every story, if you noticed, the first 2 times, there's first 2 fails, and then the third one is, they have a saying for this, but the third one is the super, right? Anyways, after the fire, there was a whispering voice, and I guess that was God. God was in the voice. I don't know. Anyways, so this is reminiscent. It even says here in the book, but I noticed this even before I read the footnote here in the New American Bible, that this was very reminiscent of the flood. The 40 days, 40 nights, all the natural, the fire. Well, fire really isn't that natural, but according to this, it's natural because it just came out of the air. I don't know. It says it's not in the Lord, but how does the fire come? It had to be from the Lord. I don't understand that. And the earthquake, I don't know. Coincidence? I don't know. That had to be from the Lord, but it says it was not of the Lord, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. But anyways, so you have these natural things going on, just like Moses had the natural thing of the flood, the 40 days, 40 nights traversing, like Moses. And then finally God speaking to him at the end. And I don't know, some other nonsense goes on. Some of this was really hard to read. Some of this stuff was really hard to read. So Elijah goes on. Nothing really going on. Let's see. Elisha shows up here now. I don't think Elisha was mentioned before. Elisha just shows up like we're supposed to know what he is. But Elisha shows up. Now, another nod and a wink to how stupid this is. Like you're not supposed to believe this. We've got an Elisha with an SH and an Elijah with a J. And now they're friends. They're co-workers, if you will, I guess. So again, this is just telling you how silly these stories were not meant to be taken seriously. In chapter 20, I didn't really understand chapter 20. It was like some really weird stuff. Again, God proving God was God stuff. Somebody ran and he was supposed to kill a bunch of people. I don't know. People just genociding. Men just genociding because that's what men do. But then at the very end, 35 through 43, it says, one of the prophets came to somebody and said, hit me, and he refused. And then he says, since you did not obey the voice of the Lord, a lion will kill you when you leave me. But he didn't tell the person that this was from the Lord. And even if he did, somebody says, hit me, you think he's nuts. He needs to go into a mental institute. Then he goes to another person, and then he says, hit me. And the man hit him. And then the prophet went and disguised himself, wrapped his eyes up in bandages. And then he went to the king and he says, your servant went in the thick of the battle, and suddenly someone turned and brought me a man and said, guard this man. If he is missing, you shall have to pay for his life. I just don't even understand it. The king took off the bandages, noticed that it was one of the prophets, and he said to him, I'm thinking this was the prophet, said to the king, the Lord says, because I have set you free, the man I doomed to destruction, your life shall pay for your life. Your life shall pay for his life, your people for his people. Disturbed and angry, the king of Israel went off homeward and entered Samaria. I have no idea what this means, so I looked it up online, and it seems like this was a parable, even though it wasn't supposed to be a parable, even though it doesn't say it was a parable. Supposedly, it's being interpreted now as the prophet using a parable to the king, saying, well, you didn't kill all the people like you were supposed to, so now the payback from God is that your people are going to be killed. I don't know, just really wacko stuff. Anyway, so here, I'm going to move my little doggy. Here is some of the glass that this is little chunks of the glass that I've been tumbling. I'm probably going to retumble these again because now these were pre-MJR tumblers. Now that I got the MJR, I can do it for maybe like 3 days and get a good, nice, soft edge on that. Okay, so